Picking up where we left off in part one of this conversation, the comic collecting Illuminati now dives into the topic of speculating on animated series based on comic book properties. Do related books make good investments? Are there proven winners in this category? Have there been failed specs related to animated properties? Let's find out. If you haven't seen part one, I'll link to it for you in the cards. Otherwise, let's pick up where we left off at the end of part one.
Maybe we can start talking about this. Is this book going up because we got that Into the Spider-Verse like little tease? Or when people buy this book, is there some small expectation that Miles is eventually going to come to the MCU? And where I'm going with this is like, if we look at the first appearance of MODOK book, that MODOK had his cartoon, that book didn't feel like it moved at all. And then the evil Doctor Strange, the What If book, like that was all throughout the What If cartoon, but like didn't really move until we got evil Doctor Strange in the Doctor Strange trailer, where it's like, oh, now he's going to be in the live action. So maybe we can start with the Ultimate Fallout 4, but like, what do you guys think as far as like animation? I saw Newbie, you were shaking your head. So let's start with you here. Like, what do you think about this stuff?
I think when we think of animation, we think of like the younger generation, right? I mean, we're all pretty above like our 30s. I think we think of the younger generation. I say that because like I know a few guys when we've had this conversation, they've been like, Noob, I've talked to my kids. I've talked to my kids' friends when they've come, and you know what? When I ask them who Spider-Man is, they say Miles. So I go, oh, okay,
is their kid's friend dropping $4,000 on a book?
But you know what I mean? Like that's who they think like Spider-Man is, right? So I think that there's that, and I know in one particular case where somebody's solely bought a 9.8. I don't want to say his name. He's a good friend of mine, but he bought a 9.8 just simply because he asked his nephews and a bunch of family members, like the younger kids, who's Spider-Man to them, and they said Miles. So he was like, Miles is the future. Miles is the future. I don't know. With animation, I mean, Miles, that book is going to reach a crazy ceiling once we get Spider-Verse 2. But I will say, when we get to, Miguel O'Hara there, I don't think those Spider-Man 2099 books are going to do the same. And I've heard people say, oh man, they're going to be up there with Miles. I don't think so.
The only one that might even come close is if you can swing a 9.8 of the Toy Biz variant, the white 2099. The white one?
Yeah.
9.8
and that are like
that's a unicorn.
Yeah.
So I think the thing with Ultimate Fallout 4 with the recent rise is it's a 1-2 combo of you got to the end of the Spider-Verse 2 trailer to kind of prime the market, and then Spider-Man 3 happened right in its heels.
Yeah.
And we got that one-off Electro line,
Yeah.
Yes,
and
exactly.
So you already had it going like this. And then Spider-Man 3 is, every Spider-Man key is going nuts right now, whether it's spec or not. If it's got Spider-Man on the front of it, people are buying it. So it's sending that to even more the next level. And if I know a lot of people shine on the second prints, but if you wanted a low risk move on Ultimate Fallout 4, the second print's extremely reasonable right now. And if the first print goes way up and you're just looking to buy it to flip, it's a way less investment.
Yeah.
It'll probably go up a certain percentage point if you're not looking to hold it long term anyway.
No.
I think there's plenty of viable options to make money off Ultimate Fallout 4 if that's your angle, without even going to actual Ultimate Fallout 4. Because that even then spins off into, Edge of the Spider-Verse #2, because anything Miles feeds in the Spider-Gwen spec, feeds into this spec, feeds into that spec. It's just the snowball rolling down the hill right now.
So Spider-Man spec is just different. I feel like it's an unfair fight. Like you have this graphic up, and it's just not a fair fight, So animation aside, Spider-Man is always going to do better than everything else, just about, right? So it's kind of not a fair comparison when we look at Edge of Spider-Verse stuff, Into the Spider-Verse stuff compared to any other animation, because they also time, Neo hit it perfect. They timed it with the Spider-Man movie along with that one line, and now everybody's just like, oh, and all the rumors running rampant on the internet about Spider-Gwen and your Garfield, blah blah blah. It's just feeding on itself. So it's such a hard to say is it because of the animation or not, because you have so many other things going for it. Spider-Man movie and just Spider-Man in general, which is just always going to do better in the mainstream than everything else.
Right.
And even on an animation level, I mean, Into the Spider-Verse, If you just take Spider-Man out of
Yeah.
it and just judge it on the animation alone, it's next level compared to anything we've ever seen before.
Yeah. Right.
So my thought on this is that you need to look at who the target audience is as well. That's something I've really noticed, is that because Invincible also had huge spikes. I mean, I bought my 9.6 in 2019 for $300, and I sold it for $2,000 this year. So I mean, like that's you can have big jumps in stuff that isn't necessarily Spider-Man, but that show is designed for adults. You know, and so I think that's where you really need to look at some of these different shows. Like Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur looks like it's going to be designed for kids. So I personally wouldn't be going after.
How would you factor in the MODOK show and Hit Monkey, which are kind of adult-like, but do they get like a knock because they're comedy? Like they're not cool?
Well, MODOK was on Hulu, wasn't it?
Yeah, Hit Monkey's on Hulu too.
Yeah, and I think that
Hulu
is a killer for it. I think that is something that does not help a property if it's on Hulu, because it's just a much more limited audience. But the other thing I was going to mention with that is that's why I personally, I would, if I was somebody who had invested heavily in Kamala Khan, I would probably be looking to move those books, because that show also looks like it's going to be for kids. And so I think it's going to be, because you're going to have the stuff like how when they had that Super Pets, movie that the, or whatever, the one where Dwayne, Rock Johnson, like everybody was screaming that they didn't like it. And it's like, it's designed for kids, and it's like you've got to look at like who are those properties targeting? Because the people that are spending the money are not kids, it's people our age that are dropping that kind of money.
Has anybody kept tabs on TOS 94 since the like the Corey Stoll, like Quantum Mania, live action MCU MODOK conversation started? Has anybody checked in on it?
I hadn't checked the numbers, but when we did our video, Drew, when I was looking at comparisons, this book was not moving. Now that was before that Jim Carrey spec, but maybe it's picked up because now he might be live action. So
yeah, I've literally never had anybody ask for the first appearance of MODOK ever.
Yeah. Well, Drew, so what, I mean, but it's fair to say, we're going to get the spike with these characters, but the kids 20 years from now, maybe Ultimate Fallout 4 does hit that $7,000 price range. I mean, along with inflation and then that kid coming of age to where they have money.
Yeah. And, I can see that, because to me, Peter Parker is my Spider-Man. I got up on Saturday mornings, I watched the Fox cartoon. It was Peter Parker. That was my guy. These kids are having that same experience with Miles. So in 20 years, when they've got student loans and a mortgage and a job that gives them a little bit of extra money to spend on comics and other stuff that's not really important, they're going to want this book. So I think it's really a no-brainer. Ultimate Fallout 4 is the ASM 300 or the Hulk 181 of the was it late aughts? Was it 09 or when was 09? It's obviously the hit book of that decade. So I think if you're going to drop money on a 9.8 for a long-term hold that's 15 years old, that is hands down the book you should go for.
I just don't like when people say it's the AF-15. It'll be AF-15. Like people that are expecting it to be like $100,000 book. 50 years from now, I think you're wrong.
Well,
I'm not saying that. I'm saying it could do like ASM 300. I'm probably even like 181's probably a bit of a stretch. It's probably never going to be that high, but it's in my opinion, as things look right now, it's the clear winner. If we were at the Olympics, it would have the gold medal. So as you saw, the group is not very enthusiastic when it comes to speculating on animated shows. Does that mean you should avoid them at all costs? No. What it does mean is to make sure that you are focusing on what you do want to collect, not just what you think may increase in value. Remember, if you're a collector, as long as you're buying the comic books you enjoy, it doesn't matter if they gain or lose value. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you'd like to see the other segments of the live stream, look for the clips on the other creators' YouTube channels, or if you want to watch the live stream in its entirety, head over to Swaggle YouTube channel for all 3 hours and 45 minutes of Illuminati goodness. Or, if you want to check out more content from Como Comic Books, I would recommend one of these two options here. collect responsibly, and I'll see you in the next one.